Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crystal Core Radio. Brian and Chris here, bringing you once again Chili, taking some time out of his day. Guys, if you're not
Hello.
following Chili, Moogle Go Round Radio over on Twitch. I'll sure to include the link to his channel for YouTube and Twitch in the description of this podcast. But welcome back, Chili. Welcome back, Chris. Happy anniversary to you and your wife. Just celebrating that in Chicago. So I'm gonna turn it over to Chris, man. Like, what's been going on with you, real quick, and then we'll go to Chili.
I've just been working. Been training for running. I did another 4 miles this morning. I have my third sprint triathlon is in like a week or two, and
Nice.
then I've got I can't remember if it's next weekend or the weekend after, and then I've got my first marathon in December.
Ooh.
So if I'm not working,
Running.
that's pretty much where my time goes. But I'm looking forward to 6.5 today.
Yes.
I've been looking forward to it all week.
How about you, Chili? What's going on with you, dude?
I'm pretty good. I've been enjoying 6.5. It's been some fun content. You got a lot looking forward to you, Chris. You got a lot ahead of you. I'm hoping you enjoy the new Alliance raid and the new MSQ. I've had fun. It's been a blast. But apart from that, just getting ready for FanFest in like, what, 2 weeks or so, give or take?
Soon.
I'm excited. I have my snacks ready because I've been crazy and imported some snacks from Japan.
Very soon.
I don't know if you heard. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about these, but there was some Final Fantasy 14 branded crisps or chips, as you call them in America, that they released in Japan, and I imported them over in a box. I got 6 of them, so I'm going to give some out at FanFest for people.
Cool.
That's awesome, dude, man. So yeah, 16 days, the official countdown to the next European Fan Fest. And also thanks everybody here who's joining us in chat. Soro saying, hey guys, it's been a while. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody, Riku, and so much more joining us live. Guys, if you're watching this as a live, be sure to hit the like button. If you're watching this as a VOD, sound off in the comments below. We'd like to feature your comments in our discussions, especially as it relates to live service games, Final Fantasy 14. And today we're going to be talking primarily about Final Fantasy 14's patch 6.5. We're also going to be talking about New World's expansion that dropped today. So much in terms of live service. I'm going to get Chris's and Chili's weigh in on what feels in a way like a kind of a live service pullback. A lot of players across all games. It feels like if you're ever going to get into that third season where you complain about your live service game, all games have kind of started to kind of gravitate towards that in some degree. So I'm going to get their opinions on that subject and so much more. But one announcement for me, I have if you guys are in Dallas and you want to come see my comedy routine, Dallas Community College, Dallas Comedy Club is October 13th at 7 p.m. I've got a tweet up about where you can get tickets if you're interested in joining me for some of my stand-up and that. Anyway, let's go to Chris. Namely, when we talk about what is going on right now with the general mood, I've seen a lot of gamers frustrated about Destiny or insert live service, Wayfinder, insert live service game, and and then just generally frustrated. And we're seeing that. We've also seen Sony talk about making a big push into live services. How do you feel right now as somebody who enjoys live service games? Do you feel like they're on kind of a maybe like a hiatus, or is this a long time coming? Where do you fall?
I mean, everything's cyclical. Like, I'm not currently subscribed to Netflix, but not because I will never be again in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not currently subscribed to Disney Plus, but not because I never will again in my life. I'm not subscribed to Hulu. Right now, we're watching a couple of things on Peacock, and there's not a lot on there that appeals to me. So that's usually pretty short-lived when we bring it around. We have some Amazon stuff because the Wheel of Time stuff's back, which I enjoy. My brother says it's terrible, so I'm sure everybody has an opinion. It might be terrible, but I enjoy it. So I'm not even saying he's wrong. I just enjoy the show. He says the books are just so much better. Like, that's fine. I'm having a blast. So we keep a couple things around. Currently, I'm subscribed to Final Fantasy 14, but I haven't been playing much, but not because I'm upset with the game. It's just a natural point in its patch cycle where it's easier to spend my time somewhere else. Wheel of Time Season 2 is out. It is. They're releasing it like one every week. So if you're somebody that likes to binge it, wait. Because it's not all out yet. Yeah, I think it's just Like, it's just a natural cycle of things. I think what might be different is that during COVID, many of us pre-COVID had gotten to where we were maintaining 2, 3, 4 subscriptions for entertainment, just one big bundle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's Game Pass, maybe that's streaming services, maybe that's, live service games. During COVID, when we were all trapped inside, many of us increased that number or increased that burn rate. We either increased how much we were consuming and how often we were turning them over, or we were subscribed to 5, 6 things at once. Maybe you added on Crunchyroll for the first time. Maybe you added on, maybe your World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy. Maybe you started getting into Guild Wars and you're spending regularly, so it feels like a subscription. And so normally you have some coming in the door and some going out the door at the same time. And I think what's different is we pushed a bunch in the door at once. And so it's just, for a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, I look down and I have $45, $65, $100 a month in subscriptions that like I can't and don't want to keep up with.
Right.
And so that's where they're starting to take breaks. And like, that doesn't necessarily, Zeno said it when he was talking about the 14 stuff. It's not burnout, it's boredom. And that's the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, they're both ends that require you to disengage, but burnout is when you're forced to engage with something and you just don't want to do it anymore, but you keep doing it. Boredom is, I'm not upset at them, I just want to do something else.
Do you think this year has had any kind of impact, because we've seen just big RPGs release throughout this entire year? It wasn't just like 1 month. It's been like almost, you could say, like every month, every other month, a big mainline RPG has come out. And do you feel like that could be competing somewhat with the live service model?
I think the word we use a lot is invitation. So I bought my first car 14 years ago. I bought it on like a 5 or 6 year note. So I've not had a car payment for like 8 years or something silly.
So good.
And in the last, and for the last 5 years, it's been relatively maintenance free. I've had a couple little parts I've changed out myself. I had a new set of tires in there. I have some oil changes. Maybe there's a new battery, things I can do, and things that are relatively affordable and things that come at a predictable rate. Windshield wipers, little things. My bulbs are LEDs, so it hasn't even been bulbs. It's been great. In the last 4 months, it has gone into the shop 3 times, and it is in the shop currently today. And each time has gotten more expensive than the last. So this will likely be a 4-digit number.
Yeah.
So after 14 years, I am looking at purchasing another vehicle. And so today I'm going to rent something that I'm really excited about. It meets all of the criteria of what we want from a car. I have a short list of all the cars that actually meet all that criteria. And then I organize them by the order in which I liked them. And every time my car breaks down, I'm going to rent one of those. And I'm starting with number 1. And so if my car breaks down again, I'm going to rent number 2. And we probably have the budget to buy another car next summer. So as long as my car can hold out, it's not financially stressful as long as we can wait 6 to 7 more months, because I haven't been setting aside. The general advice is, when you pay off your car, take that payment or a large percentage of that payment and put it in a savings account and keep paying it because you're used to paying it. And then when your car does this, you won't be surprised and you'll have a big pile of money, because I would have 8 years of money. So like, I would just go buy a new car. Like, it would be fine. I'd be like, oh, I have this giant savings account. But instead I did things like became a YouTuber, which people were like, you do that for the money. I'm like, talk about the same things.
That's cute.
Having a car payment paid off and having my student loans paid off is a huge component of what made YouTube possible.
Yes.
So all of this to say, now I'm looking at other cars. And that's a foreign concept to my wife. And she said after 14 years, some of the things I've said about my car in the last week have been very dismissive because I'm very frustrated at it. And I'm very excited about this car that I'm picking up at 3:00 today. I'm super excited about it. I feel like weird about it because it's a much fancier car than what I drive now, but I'm looking at buying it used. So like it's under 30 grand new, or used. So like
that's actually great. Like
it's in the price range. It just feels weird because the brand that it is a luxury brand. And so that feels very fancy as somebody that drives a Jeep. Like I don't know if I'm ready to have a luxury brand on my keychain, because it feels like I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And but I just like the car. I just think it's really cool. I've been staring at them for 6 or 7 years, and now I'm thinking about getting one. And so I'm going to read the text, because you're saying kind of, this is why this all ties in. Yeah. And so I
was just anticipating somebody commenting on like, we're going to get live service Jeep,
live service. And so,
I mean, haven't car companies tried to do that in a way? Not exactly a live service, but Isn't it BMW where you can like pay monthly to upgrade
Subscribe
specific things?
to turn on features
Yeah.
to your vehicle, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
disgusting.
Kind of. So the reason they're doing it is because it's cheaper to manufacture a car with seat warmers every single time. It's
Mhm.
cheaper to have one manufacturing process,
Yeah.
but you can't afford to give seat warmers out for free. But if you add the price of seat warmers to your base price, you price out some of your market. So the theory behind it, and I'm not saying I agree with it or not, but at least the theory behind it ethically, how this got brought up in a boardroom and they didn't immediately get laughed at, was we'll put it in every car and then we'll sell it as either an upgrade or a subscription type thing to have access to these varying aspects of the car. That way, the people that want to pay more can pay more, and the people who want that base price can have the base price, and we can have overall the cheaper manufacturing process. That was the theory behind that as a complete derail.
Oh, I'm not saying it was a
I'm not
bad
saying in
idea,
reality it
or
doesn't
I
sting
just
to walk in and be like, your car has seat warmers, they just don't turn on, idiot. Like
You
that
gotta
doesn't feel good.
subscribe, which feels very Silicon Valley. Like we gotta get those monthly fees coming in, rolling in. They're not gonna miss it as a part. Bundle it with your payment, etc.
So I said
What's
after
the text? Yeah.
Wow, we texted a lot yesterday.
Oh
My gosh. You ever so I
By the way,
so basically
like,
here's what it was. I can just sum it up. So I
Yeah.
said after 14 years, I'm just really hurt and I'm really excited to be in something new.
hmm
And my wife says, I hope you don't ever say that about me. Because however I said it was very
Yeah.
dismissive to my Jeep. Like, well, that relationship's over. And that's not really how I feel. But
Right.
however I said it was immediately like, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, then don't go in the shop 3 months in a row, which will happen. There will be a time that one of us will go into the hospital 3 months in a row.
Yeah.
And while you're in there, tell me to rent or try out a younger model. Because that's the second step. Because she's the one that told me to rent the car I like. That's the switch. I was just going to rent some smoke-filled Hyundai Sonata and drive that around this week with like fries under the seat. And she's like, no, go onto this. There's this app called Turo. It's like VRBO, and you can rent people's cars. And what's crazy is I'm renting this luxury car from somebody, and it's half the price of renting like a beat up Ford Focus. Like it's so like I'm saving money while doing this. But the difference is it's inviting that. So you said our RPGs, part of the reason people might be feeling that it's time to flee from some of these subscription services. Well, these subscription services were naturally at a point where some levels of burnout had happened in games that require you to play. Final Fantasy XIV is not one of those games. And other games had moved to boredom, where people had done everything that they want to do. You've watched everything on the streaming service that you want to watch. Not you've watched everything, you watch everything that you want to watch. Which depending on the service, like I said with Peacock, there's not that many things that they have for me. As opposed to when we turn on Netflix, my wife's like, there's never anything on here. Like, what are you talking about? Like, so their taste tends to align with me more. So I tend to overconsume Netflix. When you have all these RPGs open up, that's the invitation. That's the car rental while my car's in the shop.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy XIV is at a point right now where I've been doing other things and other things have been a priority. So there was no big moment for me. I'm not one of these Final Fantasy XIV's dying, I'm going to quit videos. There are people that make those and they're really dramatic and they get a lot of views and they spark a lot of conversation and people get really excited about watching them. And so like they make these big moments. I never had one of those. I never had an aha, this is the last straw. I just logged out one day and then a couple weeks later I hadn't logged back in. And Coogan put on Twitter, what have you been doing if you've quit? And I said, I never really quit, but I have been doing Japanese Duolingo. And the reason I've been doing Japanese Duolingo is because I've been watching live letters. I've watched over 50 live letters and I still can't read a single Japanese character. And so like my Final Fantasy XIV effort has just shifted somewhere else, but like I have no reason to learn Japanese that isn't Final Fantasy XIV related. The whole reason is like, I would love to be able to have a brief, like hello conversation with Yoshi P. Should I ever be given the pleasure of meeting him in person again? Like that's the reason. That's the whole appeal of Japanese Duolingo. Like to read the slides at FanFest. That's the appeal, which you're going to have English written right below them. Like I have no legitimate, I'm not going to go work there. I'm not going to teach Japanese. I'm not going to teach English to people that speak Japanese. I'm learning it because of Final Fantasy XIV. But the invitation to go do Duolingo instead, the invitation to play Final Fantasy 16 instead, the invitation to play Starfield instead, or whatever the hell you're doing, is because like subscriptions were already at this natural low point, and they hit it every 2 years. And like my wife said, that really hurts. And it's like, well, you told me that it was okay to go try other cars. The answer is like, if you didn't want that, don't tell me to go see other people. But Yoshi P and the team are okay with that. They know that there are times that you've done everything you want to do, and they don't want to burn you out. But they know that boredom is a natural low point that happens between cycles or at various times within an expansion. And so you can be excited about Dawn Trail and not actively subscribed. Like that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's true of all of these subscription services. So whether it be somebody who religiously consumes Destiny or World of Warcraft or Guild Wars or whatever, cyclical does not mean dislike.
Right.
And your criticisms, you could be criticizing while playing and not really have any criticisms while not playing. Those are not necessarily tied either.
When I'm not playing this game, like it's perfect in my mind, you know. It's like all the things that annoy you fade away. Go ahead, Chili. Like what how do you feel about the topic?
I've been telling a lot of people, especially you're talking about Dawn Trail and Burnout, like you should, if you really only play it for the MSQ and stuff, that you should just wait until next year and play it, because that way you'll be able to just gear up straight away and you can go straight into Dawn Trail. The story's not going anywhere. You can take your time, play it whenever you've got time. Don't feel like you've got to play it day one. You've got like 6 months until Dawn Trail at least. You got a long time. And the story's not even finished. You've got to wait till January for the next part of the story. So if you really care, just wait until that's out and then play it. And just
especially
buy
with the 0.5
gear.
patch. Yeah, the 0.5 patch is one that like I can absolutely see people waiting till the half patch because they want to play the finale in one go. This is kind of a two-parter. So like when TV shows have like a two-part finale and they play them back-to-back weeks, I can see the logic in waiting to week 2. And week 2 in this case, you're absolutely right. It's in January.
Yeah, so you have January for the 6.55, which then will lead into the Japanese Fan Fest, and then ultimately will you kind of
6.55 seems to be after Japanese Fan Fest.
In January? Like when's the Japanese Fan Fest? Is it this year?
No.
January Fan Fest.
It's going to be 100. It's going to be over 100 days between 0.5 and 0.55. It is the longest gap to the 0.55 patch in Final Fantasy history. And if they wait to unlock the final tier of Savage to 0.58, which is 2 weeks after 0.55, which is the historic unlock point, it would be the longest gap for a raid tier before the loot unlocked. So like Criterion loot is pivotal to making this gap feel good. And the Criterion's not, is Criterion 0.51? God, I hope so.
Yeah, it's 0.51.
Yeah, and right. so the 0.51, that's the thing to do. So there's a lot that's interesting about this cycle that has never happened like this before. And what makes that even longer is that 0.5 is a week earlier than I thought it would be. I thought they would take the
mid-October.
I thought they would take their summer break, and they never took their summer break. So they were supposed to take an extra 1 week. So this patch arrived early, and 0.55 is late, and so like that distance is just incredibly long.
And then, so Chile is estimating about 6 months, but I would probably more or less put it closer to 8 to put it into that June time frame, which like that in and of itself, I think is going to lead to exactly what I think a lot of people are kind of feeling, which based off of Yoshi P's design of the game, like, yeah, go play something else right now, because like you said, like you're not going to be punished for stepping into, the game back, if you want to step in May or even June of 2024, you're going to be able to, they're going to help kind of bullet train you up to the front of the line to get ready for the expansion at that time. So I think that's going to be kind of important.
And I wouldn't be shocked if somewhere between January and June, that there will be a free a free weekend for people to be able to log in if they haven't been subscribed for months as well. There's probably going to be like
free login campaigns.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. So we talked about the free trial. Actually, no, we haven't talked about the free trial being expanded, but now as it exists today, the free trial goes all the way through Stormblood, but also what a lot of people were talking about happening in October, that the Xbox beta would be releasing with 6.5, but from the voices and everything that's been said, it sounds like it's the 6.5 cycles. So what do you guys feel about both the free trial and when you think about the Xbox release for the beta before it, because we know it's releasing in spring 2024?
I think that's the right time to launch it. It gives them a lot of time to bug fix. There are a lot of long-time players that are going to take the 0.5 cycle like they always do as a chance to maybe play a few less hours, There will be others who view it as a time to play more hours, but in content that they don't typically play. So maybe they've always wanted to spend time on Deep Dungeon or grinding an old relic, and they can never fit it within their static or their RP group or whatever it is that ties up their time between patches throughout the expansion. And because this time, like, it's a great time to dump more time into parts of the game that maybe you don't normally engage with. But if you don't have any of those spots, those people will be away. But during that time, what keeps the population level at all, and actually typically the total population dips and then rises back up, but the only thing that keeps it from just bottoming out is we get a lot of sprouts. We get a lot of fresh new faces. And Xbox is just a whole new vertical, as kind of the business term, that is unexplored. Right. Yeah. And so you can try to raise the vertical in PlayStation. You can try to raise the vertical in Mac. You can try to raise the vertical in PC, in Steam, any of these ecosystems where you already have a presence. But that's advertising to people you've already advertised into in the past, hoping they'll make a decision now that they didn't make last time. It happens, but that's a much harder conversion. Xbox is an entirely unexplored vertical. It's at 0 Xbox players that only have Xboxes have been able to play Final Fantasy XIV. So the first time those ads hit them, there are a lot of them that are like, oh my God, I've been interested in this game for a long time. So that it should just take off. There should just be a ton of new players coming in. And that's wonderful. It's really exciting, especially for those of us that you get to the new expansion, you're excited about the new one, but you don't know that much.
Right.
And so you're kind of just like, I'm not that excited. I want to be excited, but I'm not that excited. And seeing somebody come in who is saying things like, I'm going to love this game forever. This game will never run out of content. This game is so amazing. People told me that ARR and Stormblood are the 2 worst parts, and I loved both of them. Having that positivity around is fun. It's really fun. And it comes from new players, people with less than a year, people with less than 2 years of experience, can just have this positivity because they've got 10 years of buffet to consume. So they're just like, the moment they get tired of one section, they're like, and this is good, and this is good, and this is good, as opposed to somebody who is like, I've grinded every relic on 6 characters. I'm just so tired of relics. I get that.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Like, checks out.
Makes sense. It's really hard for that player to be as exciting to be around. Even though they're typically very knowledgeable and anything they have nice to say about the game is very thoughtful, the blind joy that like a new player can get is fun. It's contagious. And you know, it's what results in these moments like Rich Cop. Man, that narrative really took a turn. So like,
oh my gosh, dude. Yeah.
But, like,
oh God,
just bringing in positive, fun events like that. You know, the public ones are all these like big creator collabs, but they're happening behind doors too. I just can't reference them because I don't know who they are. But there are people right now that are meeting for the first time or longtime friends that will be joining because one of them was on Xbox and they never had access to the game otherwise.
What do you think, Chili?
For me, I'm excited for the Xbox version, but I think we're not going to see it until... Well, we'll probably see the beta in January, February time, but I think we're not going to see it properly until the Dawn Trail pre-orders go live. And then what they'll do is, rather than just selling Endwalker like it is now, they'll have it so that there's a pre-order for Dawn Trail on Xbox. And then when you pre-order the Dawn Trail, you get everything up to Dawn Trail.
Right.
So that way they don't sell one version and then
they have to come back and say, hey, by the way, we want some more money. Because for somebody who isn't in the know, all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? Why am I being asked for more money? I hope they do that, Chili. I think that would be a really smart thing, because you could buy Dawn Trail today and play Final Fantasy XIV today with the Dawn Trail being, you know, released in chat. And we're hoping for June 22nd. Like, I think that seems like a reasonable time frame. That is summer, early summer. Let's go.
Is that the date that people are predicting?
That's what Riku was talking about, how Yoshi P would give him another birthday present, because June 22nd was Final Fantasy 16's release as well. So who knows?
I'm gonna see if the spreadsheet is optimistic here.
We're gonna see here. We're gonna compare that date. Any other thoughts on that, Chili, regarding the Xbox version of the free trial?
I think that's late.
Okay.
I think that's late. I think it's
I don't think it's gonna be that late. I think it's early June. Yeah, same.
I have it predicted as May 31st.
Ooh, okay.
But like that could be off by 2 or 3 weeks either direction. Probably that's probably the earliest it could be. I had originally said March was the earliest it could be. I think May 31st is probably the earliest date. So it could be June. June's very logical.
I think May will be the early access.
May 31st is probably the beginning of the window.
Yeah.
That I would give it. And that's a Friday, so that's noting early access because that's how my spreadsheet tracks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll officially have a June 4th launch, as is in my, that's the earliest possible date. Later than that would not shock me.
Yeah. And then each flounder saying that that's enough time after a Rebirth's release. So it's when we think about everything that is, popping off from Square Enix, that is something to
And then
consider.
you'll probably see a tease of the PC version of Rebirth sometime probably in August, September time.
I don't know. I think it'll probably be a tighter. They said that the exclusivity for a Rebirth was much shorter than like the year or
It's
whatever
only,
it was.
Yeah, but it's only 3 months for the exclusivity window, but that doesn't mean it's going to be released in 3 months. Like the Final Fantasy 16 one's been over for ages on PC because that was only 6 months. So it's still going to take them time to pull it over. So I still don't expect it before Christmas.
Okay.
They're probably waiting to see if Epic will drop any money on it, is my guess.
Now, before the show, Chili, you asked me if I'd heard the latest Sony Bad news, and I said, "Don't tell me about it. I haven't heard about it." But I like
Okay,
to.
do you want the good news or the bad news?
I like to start. I'm a good news guy first, then the bad news. Chris, would you have a preference?
I'm totally the opposite.
Oh, ruin my day first.
Rip
and
the
then hand me a
Band-Aid off
cupcake.
and then tell me it's not infected. Like,
Well,
like,
you know what? The bad news is very, very, very bad. So I'm going to go with the bad news.
Okay.
Did anyone hear about the hack that happened with Sony recently?
Oh yeah, I think everybody heard about that.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Sony has released information on the fact that it looks like consumer accounts are safe.
Oh,
looks
good.
like everyone's consumer accounts should be safe. You should all be safe for what we know so far.
Okay.
But 7,000 employees had all their personal information exposed.
Oh, it sucks, dude.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So,
like at the end of the day, because sometimes people on the internet, especially around gaming, take it way too seriously and threaten developers and people who are working and have access to that information. It's awful.
So yeah, it's horrible what's going on. So yeah.
So what's the good news?
Yeah.
The good news that the customers
movies are coming to Plus. I guess that's good news. Is that good? Is that good enough? Sony is moving its Bravia Studios movie stuff over to PlayStation Plus, so you'll get 100 movies for free, and then there'll be rentals and buy stuff as well. So it's another subscription service on top of your subscription service.
So yeah, that just makes sense though. Like the leverage their like synergies and bundling all of those things together. That's one of the things that I've constantly wanted to see Final Fantasy 11 and 14 do is bundle this up together, like make it a package, increase its value for the subscription. Because when we look at things like back to the live service thing just a little bit, I think essentially when like Chris brought up, hey, there's just a lot of stuff to play, and it's not even just play. I think after the pandemic, like people have also gotten much busier. Like we're seeing, from just the numbers, people might be working 1.5 jobs or 2 jobs, so you might be actually out of the house more, because you're just, trying to make ends meet and hedge off inflation. And thus that gives you less time to sit down and play. And when you do sit down to play, like when we've seen is like, if you're like, if you feel like you're falling behind in a game, it's easy to be like, that FOMO that we've seen kind of make its prevalence when we look at like Destiny. But that's where it's like, I think games that I'm hopeful for are ones that look at the live service model and don't put in that artificial FOMO of the battle pass expiring and things like that. Because Halo Season 4 has been phenomenal, and I have all my previous seasons to level, so I'm having fun there. Wayfinder kind of has the same business model, so we'll have to ultimately wait and see in that case. Any other thoughts on? Go ahead, Chili.
It's going to be interesting to see what at launch they've said that it's going to be needing 9 megabytes and 2 megabytes down for PS4.
Yeah.
But the TV version actually has like what they call like something like true movie mode, where it streams like a proper 4K bitrate, and that actually needs 80 meg down. So it's going to be interesting to see if that comes to the PS5 eventually.
Yeah.
This will also include some Crunchyroll stuff as well, so you'll have some anime from Crunchyroll included in with the sub. So anyway, I'm going to shut up now.
You're good, dude. Any other thoughts, Chili? I mean, sorry, Chris.
No, I just am getting into the Crunchyroll thing because I've been, at the same time I'm learning Japanese, I'm learning German because that's what I took in high school. So that way I have some victories, because the Japanese is hard, man. It's really hard. And so the German comes to me much easier. It's much more similar to English, and I've taken some of it, well over a decade ago, but there is elements of it that seem familiar. So it comes very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to start watching some anime with, my understanding is you watch it with English audio and German subtitles. And then as I get better at German, you invert that and you listen to the German while reading the English. And then you go to German with German subtitles. You may need to pause and rewatch. And then you take the training wheels all the way off and hopefully understand what the hell's going on. No subtitles, just German audio.
Just German audio.
So
nice.
I finished my first 2 episodes of Peppa Pig with German and German subtitles at 75% speed, nailing it.
Well, congrats, man. Duolingo, not sponsored.
Crunchyroll's the goal. No, the Peppa Pig's just on YouTube. That's a children's
Chris,
show.
Let me try something. Konbanwa, Chris. Chili des.
Your chili.
Hello, Chris.
Your
I'm chili.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to do the your first. So when you say des at the end, that's like I am.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I see.
I also have been practicing it recently.
Practicing your German. That makes a lot more sense for you personally in my worldview.
No, that's Japanese.
Oh, you're practicing Japanese? Okay, I gotcha. That's one of the things that I wish I was better with, just English language at all, as opposed to then learning some kind of foreign language, which would be really enjoyable.
I will say that's the big lesson learned, is like I went off to go find some grammar lesson on German, and they were talking about like, well, this is just the infinitive, and so it works just like in English. And I'm like, okay, but what's an infinitive? So like it's like, oh, I didn't finish my own language, so when they explain it in grammatical terms, it's like I don't know what that is in my native language. So
yeah,
I have no way of getting to what that is in. I don't conjugate well as is.
So I see chat talking about the state of free to play, buy to play, and this is I'm going to bring up a tweet actually from Mr. Worldwide Warrior Light, who's making the case in chat. I do want to specify one thing for anybody who's watching this as a highlight or a VOD. Thanks, A, for being here. But B, Yoshi P has always maintained that he's going to keep the subscription model rocking and rolling for Final Fantasy 14. And basically just like we're going to do what the players ultimately want. And I feel the vast majority of the 14 player base likes the subscription model. I think it's the most fair model for both the developers and the players themselves in terms of that relationship to development, servers, and continued operations of the game without then having to go through and try to create that FOMO that essentially then frustrates a lot of players in the content itself. But let's talk about it. Mr. Worldwide Warrior like tweeting out yeep, and it needs to go free to play and only pay for the expansions and the glam stuff on the MOG station, because it ain't an MMO experience that they did this, in relation to Square Enix saying that Square Enix has finally made it possible to play all of Final Fantasy XIV's completely solo, which isn't actually true. You still have the Crystal Tower, which is a multiplayer experience. But what do you guys think? Let's talk about that. For now is a good for now. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's a headline. There's a character limit, so like it's gonna lack context. So you got to click their little bit.ly link to find out if they understand that. You can't play at all. You literally can't. So your first time through, you have to do 8 and 24-man content with other people for now. It's something they said that they would look into working on, but that would be next expansion, specifically the Crystal Tower raids and the required 8-mans. You could do old Savages unsynced, and as long as you're patient, they will eventually all get to you. But there is no way to experience everything that's in PvP without other players. There is no way to do everything that's in the Golden Saucer, but like you don't have to queue with other people, but you have to be around them. And that does bother some people. And you can't do ultimates. Like you just physically can't. Like you're never going to experience that content without a really dedicated group. So like, and even a lot of the raid content and all of that, you would have to be so incredibly patient to wait for it to be unsynced and go through a story. So if you want to experience Pandemonium during Endwalker, normal's not hard, but you need other players. So like what Yoshi P has done is a lot less controversial than what that headline implies. What he said is that a narrative experience, something where people have emotions and read at their own pace and want to consume it at their own pace, can be viewed alone. That is a lot more akin to direct-to-home movies, where the theater is an option, but you can also just watch it on your own. Mm-hmm. It's not saying you can do all of life from inside of your house. So there's still a lot of MMO elements that aren't there. So like, should it go to free to play? I don't know. Should the narrative be available for free? That's how like Xbox Game Pass handled Halo, right? They took portions of it and made that free to play. So should free to play include all narrative up to the current expansion?
I think they will.
That's
in terms of the
gentle question,
right? And I think it will actually in terms of the free trial, because like we said, like, okay, Heaven's Word, that makes sense. It's a really big expansion. It is really where you feel like Final Fantasy XIV. Like if you have a critique of ARR, Heaven's Word really is the answer to that critique for the majority of players. And that's what you see time and time again. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I stuck with it. I really, really loved Heaven's Word. But then they added in Stormblood, which, talking with Chili, privately, and what I've said, publicly, is that I think this then shows that at some point Shadowbringers will be a part of the free trial. At some point, Endwalker will be part of the free trial. And I have no qualms about that. I think that in and of itself is pretty fascinating that they would do that. But what seems strange to me, and continued to seem strange, is that if you purchase the game, you're forever locked into the subscription. There's no going the other way. It's a one-way trip. And so as soon as you reward Square Enix with money, then all of a sudden they're going to come back to the tin each and every month. And I just wonder, like, do we see in the next, like, we're talking a long, time span here, at some point in the future where they go in some and create something new, something that, like, within the economy of MMOs right now, WoW and 14 are the only subscription MMOs. WoW has managed it with a token, to allow you to play and buy subscription time, which I know is very controversial. Go ahead, Chili. What do you want to say?
Isn't EverQuest still subbed, or am I confused?
It might be. Like, Final Fantasy XI is still sub, but when we talk about, like, what's the mind share,
can you buy a WoW token on a free version? I think you still have to buy the base game.
Right. I think you still have to purchase the
and you have to purchase your first month. I think you have to pay for you have to pay for 1 month,
mm-hmm.
and then earn enough gold in that month to pay for your subscription, and then keep the loop alive.
Yeah,
which would be a tall ask for a new player. Like, making that much gold for a veteran player is absolutely a valid goal. Making that much as a new player, like, you're in for some work those first few months, because you're just not going to have the resources. You're not going to have the string of 90 characters at cap that can take advantage of, like, daily login bonuses and stuff. Like, the people that play on just a token, a lot of them have, like, almost a farm that they keep alive.
Yeah.
And there are many crops, and those crops each individually each of those fields has been tilled at a separate time over their career. And so it's gotten very easy now, and they do it in just a handful of hours. Same in EVE Online, but that isn't true of a new player. So, like, a lot of times these IGN articles are like, and you can play it for this. It's like, theoretically, but, like, it's only been created in a lab environment. Like, it doesn't function like that in the real world. And you're setting somebody up for failure marketing it that way.
Wessel in chat says it'd be nice if returning players could go to actually a free trial mode. So if, for example, they hadn't hit Stormblood yet, they can actually, instead of making a new account and starting over from scratch, be able to just log in and take advantage of what the free trial is. Because in that and that's essentially kind of where I wonder if we'll ever see the game go, where all of a sudden you say, right now, because if you think about the free trial going all the way to Stormblood, you would say Shadowbringers and Endwalker require you to be subscribed. And if you're subscribed, you have, access to the retainers. But if you're not subscribed, you're in that free trial mode, and those restrictions still apply. But if you were like, yes, this game's great, here's $20 or here's $40 for it. And then all of a sudden, because I've seen that happen from a lot of players who are like, wait, what do you mean? I need to be subscribed every month just to play it. I feel like all of a sudden it feels like they ended up rewarding Square Enix, and then Square Enix is like, okay, we're going to take this back from you now. which just seems strange. With
Yeah, but you're making the cliff even higher if you let them play for the first 6 months with you let them found this relationship. It's like, yeah, come over to my house. You can stay here. You can eat my food. I'll rent movies for us to watch. I'll always drive everywhere. I'll take your clothes to get dry cleaned. It's on me because I just want you to feel comfortable here. But then at the end of 6 months, I still have to start asking you for rent. So like, I don't know that you're really coming out ahead. If you invite those people to play their first 2 years for free, and then you go, and now I need a subscription. So I do think like just being really upfront with people, it has to be subscription as the end result. So it's just always subscription.
Yeah.
And free login campaigns are a much healthier model, right? Where it's very clear from the get-go. We're normally a subscription, but right now it's free. That's a much more transparent conversation than come and play this free game.
Right.
And then later you just pull the curtain back and go, I got your money. And that just doesn't. So like, I struggle with like this desire that it's just going to be open-ended, not to mention everything's on kind of this spectrum from like, you want to be inviting to as many people as possible and you want to discourage bots as much as possible.
Yeah.
You can never be at either end all the way, but I will say that like the two things that keep Final Fantasy XIV from being as bot intrusive as other games, I'm not saying there aren't bots. I'm just saying like to keep it from being as bot intrusive is Gil has no long-term value in that like having a trillion Gil would not get you anything that having 10 million Gil wouldn't get you, or 200 million. And somebody's like, but a house, like there is a one finite amount of Gil, and then you would just have the bulk of what everybody wants. And so having an unlimited supply doesn't really do anything. It's cool, but like it doesn't encourage bots in the way that like having 1 billion gold has a real world dollar equivalent. So devaluing that, and then also limiting the barrier to entry, making every bot buy an account is good because that means that they have to spend. So limiting how far they can get in kind of a free trial before they have to pay in limits how many people, because then they have to value propose that. How much am I going to get out of this account before it gets banned?
Right.
Right. If I have to pay $20 in to get $30 out, I'm going to go play a game where I can pay $5 in and get $100 out.
Yo, Chili.
By the way, talking about housing, Chris, I don't know if you've read the news recently. Yoshi P does the patch notes live. You know, where he talks about the current patch, like 6.5. This was translated from Japanese to English, of course. So, and this was done in like a talkative setting. So, we don't know all the information about this exactly, and it could be subject to change because this is talking about 7.0 content. But he mentioned that they're talking about having the ability to remove pillars and possibly increase the size of your interior of your house in 7.0. So you might be able to have a large house inside, even if you own a small house in the future.
And that,
whether this will
me,
be a gill sync as well will be interesting.
Cool. That tells me, though, also 7.0's like fundamental memory management and underlying systems have been absolutely worked on for that, because we've seen it with the multi-die system, and that's where like I got the glamour people are excited. That's great. I'm happy for them, but I'm the technological side of it. I'm like, holy smokes, they've really re-engineered some things in their back end to make this possible, and then being able to say like you got a small house on the outside, but inside we can change that, continues to like affirm that fact that I think 7.0 in a way where like makes me even more excited to see what they do with 8.0, because a lot of this work then once complete allows them to hopefully increase their velocity going forward.
Yeah. No, it's great. The amount of content in this game is huge. There's one player, I believe, in the world who can say they're done with Final Fantasy XIV, like truly done. So it was like last week or something.
All the achievements.
He finished every single one. JP player.
Yeah.
Woo.
He's done. Done.
Yeah.
Completed.
He's the only person that can go
Final
on
Fantasy XIV
until the next update.
Yeah, but at that point it becomes much more maintainable.
Oh,
like at that point, now you just consume it at the rate that it comes out. So like once people hit that in WoW, every expansion, all those people get reset, but then it's a race. And so the number of people that have every achievement in WoW just continues to rise. And so and they started adding things like all the things and all that. And like there are people approaching some crazy numbers on that as well. So you end up with just ridiculous amounts of completion from the truly dedicated few that take that as a goal. So I don't know. I don't think the game should be free to play. I think they've set up a business model that works really well for them. I think that they have a player base that appreciates it, and rocking that boat for a set of people that haven't, like, you're rocking the boat with people that like your game in hopes that people who already have either said they actively don't want to play your game or don't even know who you are might like you. Like, it just feels like it'd be better to make a new project. It'd be better to make a Final Fantasy 20 online and say that's going to launch as a free to play than to just take an existing business model and say, I have a hamburger shop, but I hear pizza joints make a lot of money. So I'm just going to piss off everybody who likes my hamburgers and make pizza. And then I'm going to hope that people like pizza know to go to the old hamburger place. Like, so I think you're just better off opening another restaurant. And I'm from Dallas. Like, Dallas is the #1 chain starting location in the United States. We have a lot of restaurateurs who they do really well in one genre of food, and they open up and they say, oh, this is from the makers of this. And they open up another style and another style and another style to see if their mentality could work in maybe another genre of food or another price point or something like that. It would be weird to just pivot an existing business.
Now, I have a kind of to flip the script question for you guys in this case. Is that, again, looking at the theoretical future, this is just envisioning, like, think at a minimum 5 years from now, 8.0, 9.0 is on the way, in this regards. It's on Xbox, it's on PlayStation 5. We're already starting to talk about or already starting to experience the next generation. And we've also finally seen Ashes of Creation hit its alpha phase too. I love, man. I hope somebody clips that. 5 years for alpha phase 2. What
still
would you
faster than Star Citizen?
Still faster. I went and bought Star Citizen just because I was like, all right, I'm gonna see.
Did you though?
Yeah.
Well, like, what did you purchase?
The base package or whatever they had. Like,
and what does
$40.
that get you?
Who freaking knows? I haven't even played it yet.
I believe you sent Star Citizen money. I'm asking, like, when does a purchase get complete? Like, did I buy something off Amazon when I gave them money, or did I buy something off Amazon when it arrives and I take possession?
Yeah, I think it's when you give them money.
So it's very clear, like, when you go to McDonald's and you give them $2 and they hand you a burger in like 20 seconds, you're like, that was a transaction. But like, when we start talking about these games that have like a theoretical launch date that's already moving and is already far away, like, what are you buying?
Like, going to McDonald's,
if I get the opportunity,
like, I'm not saying you didn't buy it. Like, it definitely seems like your wallet knows you bought it.
I just literally have
not even. Your game library doesn't know you bought it. So it's like,
yeah.
It'd be like you going to McDonald's, giving them $5, and they give you the bun, the base bun, and then they'll be like, "Okay, we've still got to get the cow bread,
and the cow's got to come." He swiped right, but he hasn't met anybody. Is Julie upset?
No, she's not. I just haven't had time to play that many games. Yet. He hasn't done anything. He has it downloaded. That's about it. So the flipping of the script, thinking 5 years from now, keeping the subscription model. But what do you feel? Do you feel like there would be some potential to bundle with Game Pass and PlayStation Plus when you're starting to talk about like a game that's coming up on 20 years of service? No. Now think about today. Think about it in 5 years.
Yeah, I am. No. I think we'll get some more
you're going to bundle so many things that it's going to get frustrating. Sometimes I don't want the soda. As I've tried to lose weight and as I've tried to be healthier, I don't want the drink. And so when McDonald's implies that it is a more valuable meal because they now include large sodas, I'd rather them just decrease the price of the burger. So my counter to that is that there may be a day where we look back at these subscriptions and people say, well, I get my BMW heated seats and I get my Amazon free shipping and I get my Final Fantasy subscriptions and they pay to mow my lawn and I get 3 free shirts dry cleaned every month. But I actually just wanted to play Final Fantasy 14. Like, is there a way to pay less and just play Final Fantasy 14? Like, do I have to get all of that other stuff?
Right. Do you have to get locked into a bundle?
So like, I know we're swinging towards bundles, but I just, like, already in my head, I feel the pendulum. Like, there's still people that are like, but I don't want all that other crap. Like, it's just bloat. I just want to play Final Fantasy 14 and then I'll just pay a la carte. Like, if I want to pay for Netflix, I'll pay for Netflix. Like, I'm not worried about the fact that 2 companies have my credit card info and will leak it at a later date. I I'm comfortable with that instead of us having just one location and everything has to be tied to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. All right. Now that we've kind of, I think, talked about all the different things about Final Fantasy 14, especially with 6.5. Hopefully, you guys are checking out the content and enjoying it for what it is. And then, obviously, like, you know, I think the biggest thing for October for me is what the next FanFest is to entail, because we're going to get a job reveal. We're going to start to kind of get a better picture, and ultimately, it'll be fun because we'll also then get to speculate on what the last job is. So it's going to be a fun month for sure. So hopefully you guys stick around and enjoy that. But I want to talk to you guys now about New World. New World released its expansion, Rise of the Angry Earth, on the same day, October the 3rd, and it delivered it on time, which is good. But as with it, there are some bugs. But beyond the bugs, you have massive queue times. So anybody who's out there like waiting around to get on a server, shocker. So I would say, like, people keep asking me, is that we're stepping back into, and it's like, maybe here in 2 weeks when you're not having to like wait hours to play, because there's just too many good things to play right now. But overall, I'm enjoying it. I know Chris
24/7. Could
that?
you just play? Are we just back to an Endwalker? Are we just back to December?
Thankfully,
Endwalker
not
launch?
that bad. Thankfully,
like I just played it.
Yeah,
I just played in the morning. Like I just booted up the game and then went and made my coffee and breakfast and then played in the morning.
Queue times for the game right now, for the US, for like us, Central and West, East, tend to actually start around like 10 or 11 a.m. But it's not horrible. Like, you can just kind of put yourself in queue and you can play and go from there.
What's the bigger riot? Here's two suggestions. Let's just imagine that server space is limited and that the number of players that want to play doesn't fit. So we're in that world. That's every MMO launch ever. What's the better way to handle it? Queue times, first come, first serve. But once somebody's online, as long as they don't AFK out, they can play as many hours as they want. But it's first come, first serve. So the answer is to be first. Or, stay with me, cap the number of hours that somebody can play in a 24-hour period and then kick them to make room for other people until load decreases.
I would think the better thing to do is, and maybe I misheard you on the first option, it would be to give the ability to guest on like just a holdover server, so that while you're in queue for your world, you're not just waiting around watching a number slowly decrease.
That's what Cloud will offer, but my premise was server space is limited and the number of people outnumbers the available servers, which is every MMO launch currently. The day we have Cloud, the day we have like, hey, as long as you're willing to play solo Final Fantasy 14 story in Dawn Trail, there's only a wait to get onto the multiplayer servers. If you're willing to spin up into a private Cloud instance, you can just log on right now. Like, the moment Cloud has some sort of ability to start phasing us into like a lesser version of the game, but you can start playing right now, that's better.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, like, as somebody that is willing to get on early and play long, I benefited greatly during Endwalker. Yeah. And there were people who said they just wanted to be able to play a couple hours and they were frustrated they couldn't. And I played 105 hours in the first week. There's only 168 hours in a week. So, like, I'm just telling you that the queue system benefits gamers like me who will use an alarm clock and will just get up before the queues start and then just don't get off.
Benefit the
work from home crowd. People like me.
Like, I just won't log off.
Right. Yeah, the work from home crowd as well. Like, so I can just queue. Yeah, go ahead.
Benefit people like me that play on NA servers and live in England, so it's going to be early for you anyway, even though it's afternoon for me.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things that, especially with some of the changes,
this whole time, and I see all these people in pain, and I'm like, maybe they should kick people like me off. Like, maybe I shouldn't be allowed to have 185 hours. We could set it at a big number. Maybe 80 hours
temporary.
Maybe at 80 hours in a week, they should have said, "Hey, you got to get your spot up." Like there are people who haven't gotten to play at all yet.
Then we're almost going back to 1.0, where it didn't kick you off, but it might well have, because you've had the XP cap from playing too long.
Oh yeah, you have disincentive to play.
I'm only suggesting it because there are people that would benefit, and I benefit from the current system. Yeah. So leaving it the same is great. Yeah. Like, I just get up early. Like, it's fine. I don't know.
Chat says only if it's free to play. Would that feel like it's like, hey, you have a kind of a limit when the servers are under that much stress.
I
You
saw
kind of
somebody in
just
Pyro's community say that they stay logged into their character while they're at work.
I've seen people do that.
Like they just
That's actually was a
so
big
then
thing.
their
That
playtime is just like 9 billion hours
Right.
because they just have a computer just sucking wattage out of the wall to just
keep a
idle
character
in
online.
Limsa.
I mean,
Well, we've seen
I
that
used
in
to
the
do
Final
that with
Fantasy 11.
11.
Yeah, people
Yeah,
would do that.
because
Was there a benefit?
you would go to
Yeah.
the Roland Berry marts because the vendors were cheaper to sell on your character than it was at the auction house for a while.
Yeah.
So people would just sit outside the main city constantly, staying logged in so they could sell the
You
stuff
used to be
cheaper.
able
Because,
to, you used to be able to do that in 14 as well. So you could used to be able to list and say, hey, I'm willing to sell this in my inventory for this price. And so somebody could come and inspect you and like, oh, let me check out your shop and just purchase it direct from you. So in 11, that's what they did a lot of. 14 did that, but when 2.0 dropped, they got rid of the direct, purchase
yes
of
and
items.
no. If
Yeah,
you
because
go
having your
to-
servers be busier because you didn't design a better system is a terrible use of resources.
Okay. Yes and no, Brian. If you actually go to someone's house and they have the vendor outside their house, it will not actually sell it with the tax.
Oh, cool. So
encouraging people to
that's now
not play your
back.
game to play your game is a weird game mechanic.
But
Like, you would be benefited if you did less but kept playing. Like, don't just go fold your laundry and then enjoy the game later. I want you to always half play this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, the market board had a tax added to it eventually, and then the players' shops didn't have the tax originally. So people would go outside the main town so that they could sell without the tax. It's kind of like how you would do with retainers when new patches come out, new cities, because a lot of the new cities, when the first expansion comes out, doesn't have tax. So you would switch all your retainers to the new city to sell stuff cheaper and get more money.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see, because obviously I think what you'll, queue times, like same thing, kind of the hit Wayfinder right out of the gate, just massive amounts of queue times, a lot of waiting, and that just leads to frustration. And I think that's just going to be something that it'll be great to see, with Final Fantasy 14 introducing some cloud testing architecture. We don't fully know what that entails, but didn't that come with 6.5? Is Yoshi, or is that coming later?
The beta test is coming in 6.5x.
Okay, so they're testing in that, and so having that ability to kind of scale, because I think that the right solution is just let people play in a weird and honest way. Guild Wars 2 is one of the systems that just handles it so much better than every other game out there, where it's just like, all right, you have a server, but we're just going to put you into the game and we're going to just let you play, and we're just going to handle it all in the back end. And I do wonder if we'll end up seeing, with all the changes to 14, happening. Well, who knows? Go ahead, Jilly.
Pride Dizzy says it will be dropping in 6.57.
Cool. Excellent. All right, guys. That's all I really had to, kind of break down with you guys today. Is there anything that y'all would like to talk about before we wrap up today's show? Chris, you're going to live stream some 6.5?
I'm going to play games. I have time. I have to go pick up a car later.
Yeah. Well, there's a hard out then to go get your
hard out. I'm
your
excited.
New car. Yeah, you should be. Oh man, I'm like my truck's almost 20 years old, and I'm like, I was sitting here going like, one day I'm gonna
things
have
about
a
my
new
car.
vehicle.
Like, I love my car, and I'm not looking forward to getting rid of it. But like, as it sits, when you open the door handle, it doesn't spring closed, so you have to close the door handle from the outside before getting in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, but like, I've been doing that so long that when I open the car door, my hand just naturally opens the car door and gently closes the handle, and then I get in and close it. So like, I don't even think of it as a motion until like I get the car towed and the guy can't close the door because he thinks that you just close the door to close it. I'm like, idiot.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you have to close the door handle and then close the door. Like, is that not normal to have a broken door handle that's been like that for probably 2 years? He couldn't get the key out of the ignition. And so it's like, well, and it's like, you just wiggle it and push the button and it just kind of
wiggle and jiggle.
it doesn't just come out. But like, it literally, I did it in one motion. I just reached in and just pulled the key out, and he's like, oh, that was easy. And then I realized like, it's probably because I'm doing something weird because it's my car and I know what's weird about it, but I'm excited. In theory, the car's just going to work.
I saw chat talking a lot about Starfield, and I'm just absolutely like having a great time with that game. I just visited NASA on the last live stream, which was really, really freaking cool. and I really appreciated what that was all about. So if you guys feel like checking that out, I do have 2 starred comments. These are different interesting questions that have been asked that we didn't get a chance to talk about. So as we wrap up, what do you guys think? Soro asks, do you think that Square Enix will make another online Final Fantasy game?
Yes.
Yes, probably.
When would be the follow-up?
Far.
But,
Before 2030.
very far away. More like 2040. Maybe.
2040?
Well,
I think that internally they plan to deliver it before 2030. I don't know that it'll hit that mark, but they will begin marketing and stuff. Yeah. I think we have one. I think we have one in the next. I think we have one in the next decade.
Yeah.
I don't. It's possible it beats Ashes, or it's possible it beats Ashes Decoration to market.
It's very possible. On that same kind of time frame though, because that also shifts you into a whole another generation where it looks like the next generation of consoles is kicking off in 2028. So from a technological stack perspective, you can actually, you're not sitting here building for today. You're building for something that we can only imagine what that's going to entail. So yeah, I also agree. I think there will be another online Final Fantasy game. I still wonder if they'll put a numbered, after it. Obviously, if it was 16
they will,
releasing,
and it'll be a mistake. Just call it like
yeah, because even Yoshi P doesn't like the fact that sorry,
Infinite.
Yeah, speculation was 17,
Yoshi
but I
P
wonder.
hates the fact that it's called 14. They want to call it online, don't they? More than actually 14.
Yeah, just call it online. Final Fantasy Online, Final Fantasy Online 2, Final Fantasy Online 3. I think that's a perfect system to use. The other question they ask is for Brian Online Dragon Quest, how much would you flip out if that announcement happened? They've been doing an offline version of Dragon Quest X as a part of their trying to preserve what that game is. And it's unfortunate that Dragon Quest never came over to the US, but I know that Dragon Quest in the US isn't as popular a franchise as Final Fantasy. And that is always something that's going to bum me out. I'm planning on picking up the latest Dragon Quest release that just dropped here, the Die or something like that. I'm probably butchering the name. But that's just all going to be based off of when I start clearing off some of my backlog, because there's just too many games to play in that respect. But you guys have any thoughts? Would you like to see them either port Dragon Quest X offline or online over to the West? Or would you rather see them make a Dragon Quest Online game as opposed to a numbered series?
That could be a great source for another MMO.
It could be.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jilly?
I would rather it just be a separate game rather than a numbered game. But I'd be happy no matter what. It'd be nice to see Dragon Quest Online actually reach, Europe and America.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, 100%. They're obviously still working on Dragon Quest 3 remake. They're also working on Dragon Quest 12, and we still don't have any news on that. I'm wondering if 2024 is going to be opening that up for many more options. So we will ultimately have to wait and see. And it sounds like the Switch 2 will be dropping sometime in 2024 as well. So I know that I'm sure I'm going to be both as excited and as angry with Nintendo as I usually am when it comes to them releasing new hardware, which I think is long overdue. Anyway, Chili, thank you so much for joining us here today. Where can people find you? What you got coming up?
Okay, I am Chili, one half of Moogle Ground Radio. You can find me over on twitch.tv/Moogle Ground Radio. We do a podcast every 2 weeks. Though this month is going to be a bit awkward because we got a show tonight. But the next show would be around the same time as FanFest, so it's going to be technically, I guess we're going to have one this month, kind of, because it's going to be end of October, early November. I stream every day at 8 p.m. BST until about midnight. Currently Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. My co-host Paul, he is a wonderful person, and I love that. He is amazing. He streams from Saturday, Sunday to Monday. He is currently doing his streaming at Raid, and he's doing Cyberpunk on stream actually as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for having me on. It's been fun. It's great catching up with you, Chris and Brian.
Chris, what do you got coming up? Where can people find you?
I'm gonna play Final Fantasy 14 today, and then I'm slowly working back into content creation days. Kind of 1 day a week, starting to try to get it to Thursdays, and I'm slowly dying from a lack of water.
Ooh,
I've waited patiently.
Drink. Chug.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some 14, and I'm really looking forward to Dawn Trail. I've got some projects I want to get out the door before Dawn Trail, and so knowing that that's coming kind of gives me a deadline to shoot for. So just always have something kind of in your mind and something you're shooting for.
Awesome. And then I guess for me, obviously I'll have my videos for New World and some guides and updated controller stuff rolling out on New World Central, as well as just my general variety coverage over on Ginger Prime. Now we're also been slowly expanding the Work to Game umbrella. And so if you guys have been following Epic Loot Radio, you've seen Kirk. He's been showing up, and he actually ran the podcast this last Monday, which we're trying to do every other week, which was really exciting to see. So if you guys are interested and you want to have a conversation about just general content creation and how we can kind of support you guys, feel free to reach out. You can always hit me up specifically over on Discord, and we can start to kind of grow and expand what it means to work the game. So just kind of keep paying attention to the socials and so much more. Anyway, guys, this has been it for the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us live, and hopefully we will see you next time. But until then, take care.